Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with my top 25 releases of 2015. I was thinking about waiting a little bit longer to do this, just to see if maybe something else might come out, or I might pick something up that I didn't have already that might make it to the list, but I was like, you know what, fuck it. I really don't want to wait any longer to do this. It took me long enough to narrow everything down this far. I actually haven't done a top whatever list since I posted on music forums. That's been several years ago since I actually did that. And back then, I mean, I would work on that list, work on it so hard, trying to say, okay, is this one really, do I really like this one more than this one? Trying to rank it. Not ranking any of these. This is just basically 25 releases that, to me, really kind of stood out from the rest. There was a lot of good stuff put out this year, don't get me wrong. But, these are the ones I listened to the most, and ones that, as soon as I heard them, it just really, grabbed a hold of me. And, some of you are going to disagree with my list, and I'm just like, I'm probably going to disagree with some of yours, but hey, that's the beauty of it. We don't have to agree on everything other than metal metal kicks ass. God. Me am getting tongue-tied. I don't know what my problem is. But anyway, there is one release that I do not own physically, but I have listened to it several times, and that is the new Panopticon album. Fucking amazing. And I do technically own it because I pre-ordered the bundle that Bindrune put up a little while back. Comes with a vinyl, CD, t-shirt, and I think a patch and a sticker, or either or, I can't remember off the top of my head. So technically I do own it, and I have heard it, so I can't include it in this list. I know some people are kind of anal about that. So I said, well, if you don't own a physical copy, you can't put it in the list. Well, it's my list. I'll put it in there anyway. So since I wanted to show 25 things, I'm going to put an EP that I really enjoyed in this list as well. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And first up, we have the new album from Ghost, Meliora. Great album, a lot better than Infestissimum, which that had some good songs on it, but this one is definitely better and is a step in the right direction. Track 3, which is also the single, I don't even really know how to pronounce it. Cirice, I'm going to guess. Cirice. Great song, but this whole album is just definitely a step up from the last one. I really enjoyed it. Next is releases from a couple of classic doom metal bands, and I really love these albums. It's the Feel the Misery by My Dying Bride. I have no words. This album is just fucking amazing. That's all I can really say about it. Then we have The Plague Within by Paradise Lost. I've always enjoyed Paradise Lost. I haven't listened to everything that they've put out. There's still some of the kind of mid to late era material, I guess you can say, where a lot of people I know kind of get a little iffy about. I still haven't listened to a lot of that, but I've haven't really heard a truly bad Paradise Lost album. And I think Nick Holmes' stint with Bloodbath has really rubbed off on him on this album here, because, I mean, his vocal performance is just amazing on this. And track number 1, the single "No Hope in Sight." I know me and Count Blackworth discussed this one night. I said, that song, there's a definite typo negative vibe to it. I mean, as soon as I heard it, I was listening to it, I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I would swear that was typo negative. But yeah, Plague Within. If you love Doom, check that shit out. And next up, we have the new one from Corporate Clowny, Noita. Another solid release from Corporate Clowny. I've really not heard a truly terrible Corporate Clowny release, and I'm sure some of you will disagree with me on that. I mean, sure, there are a couple albums of theirs that are, but, overall, they've always, in my opinion, released some pretty solid stuff, and this is no different. And I remember I listened to this quite a bit when I was on vacation this year, and we were out camping, and I had a chance to listen to this a lot while I was out there, and I really got into it. Next up is Devil You Know, They Bleed Red. Really solid album. I loved their first one, but this one is a lot better. And their cover of Eye of the Tiger is just so fucking good. I listened to that I don't know how many times. It's like I cannot get enough of their cover of Eye of the Tiger. I like the original, song, don't get me wrong, but their version, there's just something about the way they do it. Definitely one of the best parts of that album, in my opinion. And this next one is a band that I kept seeing the CD, and I knew they were supposed to be a metalcore band. And a lot of them, a lot of metalcore, this doesn't appeal to me much anymore. They just, they got some decent, maybe kind of growly, screamed vocals, which sound pretty good. And then you get those whiny ass bitch vocals that they do for cleans, and it just totally ruins it for me. But I decided to check these guys out, listen to a couple songs, really got into it, and I picked it up. Feeder to the Sharks with Fortitude. Really solid album, in my opinion. I would definitely recommend the track Heart of Stone. The clean vocals at the end of that song where he sings, with no regrets. I mean, that best song on that album, in my opinion, Heart of Stone. Check that out, and I guarantee you'll end up buying the CD. Next up, we got the new Leviathan, Scar-Sided. I mean, what needs to be said about Leviathan? I mean, Leviathan kicks ass, plain and simple, so you knew this had to be on the list. And in case you're wondering where the hell I got this version, I actually made this myself. Because I got the box edition, and I don't like when CDs come in those little cardboard things that you got to slide the disc in and out of. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to fly with me. So I Xerox copied the box, and then I had some extra Blu-ray cases sitting around, and I made myself a Blu-ray case for it. Because that's the kind of stuff that I do. Next up, Abigail Williams, The Accuser. Really solid album. I've listened to this probably within the last week. I've probably given it close to 8 spins. That's how good it is. In fact, I actually just listened to it this morning when I was trying to straighten up my room and get some stuff put away and reorganize some CDs and things. But yeah, I've been an Abigail Williams fan for a little while now. I remember when I first got into them, people always said, oh, they're such a shitty symphonic black metal wannabe band, or they're deathcore or whatever. But yeah, this is actually a pretty damn solid album in my opinion. Their last one was all right. There was just something lacking with it. I can't quite put my finger on it, but when you compare it to, say, In the Shadow of a Thousand Suns, which is actually one of my favorite albums that they put out, also has my favorite album cover of theirs. It just, I don't know, just something was missing. And then they released this, and yeah, definitely a much better album. Check that out. Next up, we have Utstadt with Horungavager. And I know I probably totally butchered the pronunciation of that. Put out by Celestial Oak Production, Count Blagger, this label. Really awesome. One-man black metal. Very, I call it atmospheric black metal, though I know on the archives, I think they call it, like, I don't know, Viking black metal or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly. But I just say it's atmospheric black metal because it has a really good atmosphere to it. If you like atmospheric black metal, definitely check this out. You will not be disappointed. Utstadt and Celestial Oak definitely deserve all your support. And yeah, Cradle of Filth, Hammer of the Witches, killer release. I know a lot of people were not very happy with Cradle of Filth and the direction they were going, and that album shut up a lot of people. And yeah, it's fucking solid. I love Cradle of Filth. I have for quite a while now. So next up, we have Hikachete with The Cosmic Trance Into the Void. Really, really good blackened, pretty much, I guess you can say blackened death metal, but mostly leaning towards the blackened side of things. This was a complete surprise to me. I remember Dave Backmasking, he showed this album, and I remember checking it out just based off watching him talk about it. And it's definitely one of my best discoveries of this year. If you like black metal and black and death metal, you owe it to yourself to listen to this, in my opinion. Next up, Ghostbath, Moonlover. Yeah, it took me a while to find a copy of this CD. It seemed like I could not find it anywhere. Their Bandcamp, if I remember right, was sold out. And a lot of the places that I normally shop at did not have it, couldn't find it anywhere, and then finally, I believe it was Ominous Domain, actually got some of these in. I picked it up. Really good black metal album. Definitely give that a listen. And this one, I remember me and Canyon Bickle were talking about this, and he said he didn't like the album cover. because it reminded him of too much of the generic brutal death metal that's out there these days, and he was kind of worried about it. But I told him, I said, hey, I have no doubt it's going to kick ass because their last couple have been really good. And that's Abysmal by the Black Dahlia Murder. Really good album. These are the only album I really don't really care too much for. Really was Miasma, and even that is actually starting to grow on me. But this album, they just released another killer album. You know, Canyon. I told you, don't let the album cover fool you. This was going to be good, and he even agreed with me. He said it was a pretty good album. So now here is the EP that I mentioned earlier is kind of taking the place of the Panopticon because I don't have a copy with me now, and that is Vacuous Fragmentation of the Mind. Really good death metal. This was limited to originally 50 copies, but then he printed up some more. So it's limited to 150. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that too well, but I got number 64 of 150. Definitely a good EP. I think he still has some of these on his Bandcamp. So definitely give that a listen and support him. I think he's supposed to be working on a full-length album sometime soon, I thought. Next up, George Callias, Invictus, debut solo album from the drummer for Nile. Really good, brutal death metal. And he pretty much handles every instrument on here and does vocals. Yeah, so he proves that he's more than just a killer drummer. He does pretty damn good on the rest of the instruments, and he has some pretty good vocals, too. Next up, Nile, What Should Not Be Unearthed. I've always been a big fan of Nile. And I had no doubts this album was going to kick ass. Their last one wasn't bad. I mean, I liked it, but this one blows it out of the water. Next up, Born of Osiris, Soul Sphere. And here you have the actual album art and the little slipcase. I love Born of Osiris. I mean, to me, they have yet to really release a bad album, so this was kind of a no-brainer to end up on the list. And the next couple are the debut albums from two really killer, brutal death metal bands that need more support, and you should definitely check out if you're a fan of the style. Iniquitous Deeds, Incessant Hallucinations. Yeah, just, you can pick any song off of here, and you're guaranteed that it's going to kick ass. This is just some amazing, brutal death metal. If you love brutal death metal, check that out. Next up, Embodied Torment, Liturgy of Ritual Execution. Another solid debut from a killer brutal death metal band, in my opinion. I'm actually friends with the vocalist and drummer on here on Facebook. And yeah, they've released a killer album. I loved their demo, and I knew they were, I just knew they were going to produce a really good album because they've been talking about making one, and they did not disappoint. Again, Embodied Torment, Liturgy of Ritual Execution. Check that out and definitely give them some support. This next band, they actually just changed their name, though we just basically added another word to their name, but that's Undead with False Prophecies. They've actually changed their name now to Undead Prophecies. But yeah, this is kind of a mystery death metal act. I think it's 5 people. I can't really say 5 guys because there could be a woman in there. We don't even know it. But they just pretty much play a old school style of death metal. Really solid album. Definitely check that one out if you're into death metal. Amputory, Ode to Gore, a friend of mine on Facebook, Luke Talbot. Hopefully I pronounced your name right this time because I know you're probably going to see this. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. But yeah, he told me about this album. Said it was some pretty solid death metal, and he wasn't lying. I'm really glad that he showed this to me because, yeah, as you can see, it made my top 25. This one I got into after seeing Runner JMA talk about him. Pissgrave, Suicide Euphoria. Wow. I mean, this is just dirty and just disgusting death metal. Yeah, I highly recommend you check that one out. That one's just solid. Now this one. I know people out there give deathcore, a lot of shit, but this right here is probably one of the best deathcore albums I've heard in a long time, and this probably because it's a more down-tempo deathcore, It's just crushing and heavy as fuck, and just it's a solid release. I know you've heard me say that quite a few times in this video, but this to me is a solid release. If you don't like deathcore, I would at least say give this one a shot because it doesn't sound like your typical deathcore. This is, like I said, down tempo, crushing, heavy, just and the vocals. Oh my god, Black Tongue with the Unconquerable Dark. Yes, this right here, you like I said, even if you don't like deathcore, give this a shot anyway because it is not your typical deathcore album. Next, we have Unleashed with Dawn of the Nine. I've been a big fan of Unleashed for a long time, and they released just another solid album. I mean, what more can really be said? And the last one, and if I had to pick a number one, this was probably going to be it. And I anticipated this so much, and I was really looking forward to it so much that I bought the biggest pre-order bundle that they had for this. That shows you how much I enjoyed it. Cattle Decapitation, The Anthropocene Extinction. Great, great album. Definitely give this a listen. I mean, like I said, this was pretty much, I guess you can say, my number one for the year. I listened to it I don't know how many times, and like I said, I actually pre-ordered the largest bundle that they had, and I usually never do that. But with Cattle Decapitation, I just had to do it. This is a fucking amazing album. Check it out, or forever be a poser. So yeah, that is my top 25 list. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much and make myself look like a total idiot. But yeah, like I said, there was a lot of good releases this year. These ones are just the ones that I think really stood out the most to me. So I'm really looking forward to what 2016 has to offer. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. And until next time, stay brutal.